Welcome to our Stat Sisters Special Nursing Week mini-pod episode. This week, we interviewed nurses and asked them to share their nursing stories and advice. I had a great time talking with these fabulous nurses. I hope you enjoy this special mini-podcast. Welcome back, Terance. This is your second time on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me again for our special Nurses Week edition of our mini podcast. How are you doing today?
I am doing excellent.
Good. I almost believed you.
Could you tell in my face that I was doing it? I mean, you can't tell over the radio, but
I totally can tell. It's a Friday though, so that's good.
It is, but I'm on call this weekend.
Well, I'm working, so maybe we'll run into each other.
I guess you got it worse than I do.
Nope, definitely not, because I didn't work all week already.
Yeah, but I get to be at home and on call, and you actually have to be here.
Yeah, that's true. So, do you want to, just in case somebody hasn't listened to your awesome podcast that you were on before, do you want to just give us a little background of your nursing history?
I'll do a brief background on my nursing history. I've only been a nurse for about 7.5 years now. I started out in the military and did that for just over about 5 years. And then now I work where I'm at now. And I've been here for right at 2 years. Had some time in between those two jobs, also where I work somewhere else. I kind of have a very diverse background. Worked in med-surg, worked in NICU, worked mother-baby, a little bit of leadership experience, some pediatrics in there, just kind of about everything. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. And yeah, we work at St. Mungo's in Houston, the Houston campus.
The Houston campus of St. Mungo's.
Yep, and we work together. But sadly, I will be leaving you very soon to go to the Boise campus.
Yeah, I just learned about that. I thought that I had news for you that I was leaving you, and then come to find out you had news that you were leaving us.
Yeah, but we'll always have the podcast, and we know that we can have you on a guest anytime we want because you know how the magic works behind the scenes.
I have seen behind the scenes, yes.
Terance actually helped me set up my microphone for the first time, my new microphone that we've talked about. So for this special Nurses Week edition, I'm just asking nurses, why are you still a nurse? Because I think we've told the story like 100 million times about why we became a nurse. I want to know, why are you still a nurse? You're like almost 8 years in. Like a lot of people leave within the first 2 years. Why are you still a nurse?
So I think I kind of fell into nursing. It's not something that initially growing up, I didn't grow up saying, I want to be a nurse.
I'm shocked.
Are you?
No. There's only like 10%
Yeah.
males in nursing professions. Not exactly pushed on boys.
No, it's not. And so I applied for some scholarships and ended up getting a nursing scholarship, and that's kind of what pushed me into nursing and kind of fell in love with it. And the farther I go into my career, the more I fall in love with it because it's such a diverse profession. There is a part of nursing that anybody with any kind of background could be a part of. Of course, you have to start out on the front lines as, well, not even. I guess you can start out in clinics. You could start out in the OR. You could start out on a med-surg floor, wherever you start out. But it doesn't matter, if you're into problem solving, there's nurse research for you. If you're into finance, there's a part of nursing for that. Just about anything you can think of. It's a very, cross.
We called it a big tent. We talked about this like an episode or two ago.
Yeah.
Like there's a place for everybody.
Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not always the touchy-feely that you read about in books or see on TV. It's really a diverse profession. And if you get bored with one thing, you can always hop to the next thing.
Absolutely. I think that's how some people avoid burnout, because there is something new always if you would like to do it. I'm much the same as you. I didn't grow up like Aaron wanted to be a nurse or something in medicine from like very young, and then I didn't. I just kind of like really analytically chose this career, and then I fell in love with it too, like during nursing school. And so I'm on the same boat. Like the more I'm in it, the more I'm like, oh, I can't picture myself doing anything else.
Right, absolutely.
So, do you have any good nursing stories for us?
I think I'll kind of tell you a little bit of a different story. This is going to kind of be geared towards people that are already nurses, and kind of almost just about every nurse has been fired at some point in their career, right?
Like fired from a patient?
Yeah.
Okay.
Patient fired.
Most of us haven't been fired from employment.
I think you guys have talked about that already, being fired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is what I like to call my story of being indirectly fired by my patient. So here's how it goes. I come into my shift and I get a report, and there's always that one patient that you have to look at what patients you have, and in this case I had 6 patients, and I had to prioritize which ones I needed to see first. Of course, the most healthy person is going to be the person that I'm going to see last. This patient actually had just gotten transferred from step-down unit, which may not seem like they were the most healthy patient on the floor, but of my assignment, they actually were. And if you don't know anything about step-down unit, you have a lot better ratios on a unit like that. So a lot more one-on-one time. And typically you're going to see your patient within the first 15 minutes of the shift. In my case, I didn't see this patient for about an hour and a half. And then when I finally went in to see the patient, I ended up having to call an RRT on the patient because I couldn't, not arouse her. How do you say? Maybe that's the wrong word there.
There's no A. It's couldn't rouse her.
Couldn't.
But yeah, those are very different. She wasn't rousable.
She was not rousable. Couldn't get a response from her. And something just wasn't right. She was still conscious, of course, but just not responsive.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up getting the charge nurse, and we started trying to figure out what was going on, and we couldn't figure it out. And so typically what you do is whenever you transfer a patient, you go with your patient so that you can give a report to the new unit. So I'm moving my patient to the step down unit again because she leveled back up because we couldn't get a response from her. And when we get there, she sits up in bed and goes, "Oh, it's so nice to be back and have some attention."
That is terrible.
So she had basically played me the whole time.
She was playing possum.
Yeah, she was playing possum.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is like a passive-aggressive way to fire your nurse.
Is it not? That was a pretty fun story.
Oh my gosh.
Wish I would have saw her first.
But, I mean, you had 6 patients and 90 minutes in. That's pretty, reasonable.
Yeah,
it's been
definitely.
like 15, 20 minutes in each room.
Yeah, especially if you know the floor. Yeah, it was very reasonable. Yeah, it's a pretty busy floor. Med tele floors are typically pretty busy. You always run into 1 or 2 code browns.
Oh, yeah.
During your assessments. But, yeah, that's my story.
I like that. I've never heard. That's such a tricky way to fire a nurse. I have not heard that.
She must. I walked in the room, couldn't get her to respond, and come to find out when we get there, it's just I wasn't paying enough attention to her.
Did she transfer back down later that shift, or did they keep her to the next?
They ended up just keeping her.
So, do you have anything? Any other stories? I know you do.
I have tons of stories. But I think that's all I'm going to say for today.
Okay, he's going to save it for next time. All right. Well, thanks so much for that story. So do you have any advice for nurses tuning in this week? Could be about anything. We've had people talk about burnout, resilience, pursuing higher education. We've had a few different advice topics.
I think I have a advice for anybody who's a nurse. If you're not currently happy with what you're doing currently, as I kind of talked about in the beginning, there's always something else out there for you. Explore other opportunities before leaving the profession. Our profession is probably one of the most, we have a lot of people that obtain degrees, but they only utilize them for a short time period, and they don't stay in practice. Many people do stay in practice for a long time, but there's still that good portion that does not, whatever their reasons may be. But, whether it be I work one day a week here or there, or I find something else in nursing that interests me because this isn't for me, try something else out before stepping away from the profession. I think that's probably the best advice I can give.
I think that's excellent advice because we need our nurses to stay. And there's so many positions that need to be filled, not just at the bedside, but everywhere. And I think if you're burnt out being a leader, like I've known many leaders that have stepped out of leadership and went back to the bedside and they found their bliss again. And they're just like, yes, this is where I need to be at this point. And we appreciate their service while they're in leadership because it's rough. I was going to say something. Oh, so if you're not, this is my little add-on advice. So my add-on advice is sometimes you're not in a position to leave right away, and that's okay. But keep looking and keep exploring different things and figure out what your next step is. But in the meantime, find something that is something that you want to do that keeps you energized. It's like kind of in the nursing field. Like, so for me, like I wasn't in a position that was utilizing all my skills as a advanced practice nurse. And so I looked for opportunities to use those skills, even though in my day-to-day job, I wasn't using them. And so that was fulfilling to me and kept me going in the other job, which was great, but also wasn't hitting all of the things I needed. So like kind of create those opportunities for yourself. Terance, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me again. Until next time.
Until next time. Bye. I want to thank Terance Cheramie so much for coming on the podcast. It was wonderful having him on again. And I just want to remind everybody that you can comment or ask questions, and Terance will get back to you, or either me or Aaron will get back to you. We only have a few more episodes left this week, Nurses Week, but make sure you check them all out. Go to SoundCloud, iTunes, or YouTube, or anywhere. Like if you have an Android, there's a bunch of different podcast apps. Just download one of those and you can pick us up. So anyway, have a great Nurses Week, everybody, and I will talk to you soon.